Welcome back to our podcast, A Court of Heaven and Hell. I'm Lauren, aka Heaven.
And I'm Ellie. I'm also known as Hel.
And if you don't already know, we are a book podcast that's currently focusing on the romantasy series, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Today, we will be continuing our coverage with A Court of Wings and Ruin, chapters 6 through 10, finishing out part 1. The episode will include first the plot summaries, then we'll get into some character discussion, as well as discussion about world building themes, any foreshadowing. And normally we do have a theories portion, but we are not going to be doing any theories today. Finishing out the first part, there wasn't really a whole lot of us to go on. So we'll mostly be focusing on character discussions and whatnot today. That being said, at this time, I do want to go ahead and give a spoiler warning for the ACOTAR series. You are good to watch this episode if you have read all of the books in the ACOTAR series. If you have not read all of the books in this series, then I would suggest, coming back and maybe watching one of our other videos. If you have, good to go. And if we do get into any kind of world cross or anything connections, we'll give another spoiler warning at that.
Please see our show notes for content and trigger warnings. I will say this episode is going to cover probably more triggering stuff. So make sure you check that out. We are an explicit podcast for adults. Also, make sure to check out our past episodes where we deep dive into the rest of the Sarah J. Maas universe. We have several episodes also out about different romantasy series. Lastly, take some time to rate and review us, or if you're watching this video on YouTube, please like and subscribe and make sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments. And now we're going to get into chapters 6 through 10 of Wings and Ruin.
Starting with chapter 6, everyone is at breakfast and tensions are high after the events of the previous day and night. A pair of keys has gone missing, but Tamlin doesn't seem to care in the aftermath of finding Lucian and Feyre. Ianthe, still butthurt about Feyre stealing her shine, waltzes in with urgent news for Tamlin. After being pushed, she shares the fact that the areas of land have been dying and she sees it as some sort of blight, but the group sees it for what it is, an attempt to cling to power. Feyre is smug because she knew Ianthe would react in this way and tells her she will assist her if the problem persists after their journey to the wall. Ianthe seizes the opportunity to further sow division between Feyre and Tamlin, asking if he will be attending as well. Tamlin tries to come at first, but Feyre quickly interjects, telling him she doesn't need a babysitter. Ianthe tries to use the thought of the night court coming to snatch her away as a last-ditch effort to urge him to join. Feyre breaks out her impeccable acting skills, making it seem as if she's terrified by the prospect, but Durian tells her there's nothing to worry about. Ianthe attempts one more time to get Feyre to break character by telling Tamlin he should offer Rhysand his family's wings back as a settlement offering, but Tamlin surprisingly admits he burned the wings long ago. He agrees to stay, but looks at Lucian clearly threatening him with a thinly veiled statement. Be careful. To make it to the wall faster, they switch off between winnowing and walking. It takes longer than expected, but Feyre makes sense of it because she, Lucian, and Dagden have to carry extra people and supplies. They make it to their destination at nightfall, and Feyre lets the sentries set up camp since she's exhausted from the journey. After eating, she gets into the tent she's sharing with Lucian, putting them in very close proximity to each other. He offers to sleep outside because he knows it will put Tamlin on edge, but she denies him, saying he shouldn't always give in to Tamlin's whimsies. Lucian suggests it may be because he's feeling the distance between them, and maybe she could remedy the issue by bedding him again. Feyre says she doesn't want to be touched like that. She feels guilty about the implications of the statement, but uses the opportunity to ask Lucian why they can't just get out of the deal with Hybern. He explains that they can't because the King of Hybern was clever enough with his bargain, and there would be magical repercussions if they did. He knows all of this because before Ianthe pushed them to align with Hybern, he went to the day court to see if there was a way to break Feyre's bargain with Rhys. He tells her just how bad things got with Tamlin after her departure and slips up, telling her their only options were to go to war with the Night Court and Hybern or align with Hybern and try to use it to their advantage later. Realizing his mistake, he quickly changes course, spinning some bullshit before they fall asleep. Durian abruptly wakes them the next day before Lucian orders him out after witnessing their, this time, unintentional closeness. Branna makes a sly comment saying she'd choose the Autumn Court male too due to the fire in their veins. This freaks Feyre out since she can't stop thinking about how that might apply to Elaine. Taken out of her stupor by the sound of Durian cuss, Feyre runs to the wall to see the children of the blessed staring through a hole. Chapter 7, immediately Feyre can see that Branna and Dagden have ill intentions towards them. Jurian asks them what are they doing there, and Feyre pushes past the damper on her magic from the wall to break into their minds. She can see the many hardships they have faced that led them here, places images of the worst things she has encountered in Prithian into their minds. She tells them to turn around and not only go home, but gather their loved ones and find passage on a boat to escape to the continent. The twins try to coax them over the wall, but it's too late as Feyre's words and images already have them running. They go to chase them, but Feyre makes it clear that there will be an issue if they go after them. They are seemingly upset, but go back to searching for whatever it is they are trying to find on the wall. Feyre sits watching them, not trusting them, and Jurian comes over to thank her for her actions. She acts like she doesn't know what he's talking about, but Jurian gives her a knowing smile and goes after Dagden. Still having no idea what it is they're looking for, the search takes all day and they're forced to stay and camp another night. Lucian goes to get water after leaving Feyre alone with Jurian. He asks Feyre about what would have happened had they made it over the wall, and she shares she doesn't know, but thinks it wouldn't have ended well. He begins to reflect on the time before the war and how so many gave their lives to free the humans, and she asks him what his end goal is by working with Hybern. He cheekily replies revenge, but Feyre doesn't necessarily believe him. He goes on to ask if it's any different than what she's doing. Feyre plays into it, saying, yes, she would eventually like to get revenge on Rhys, when Jurian calls her out, saying she forgets that he knows Rhys and doesn't buy her story. He ends the night telling her Hybern will kill them all. Not long after, Lucian wakes up Feyre and she immediately smells blood. Working in tandem with Lucian to face the possible threat, they walk outside to find Jurian sitting by the fire. He tells them they're too late, and Feyre quickly realizes what has occurred. The weird-ass Wonder Twins went after the children of the Blessed they ran into earlier and brought them back to camp. They tortured them in a similar way to the Golden Queen in Akamath and used a shield to block the noise from the others while they slept, leaving their remains behind for them to deal with. Feyre questions why they would even do such a thing, and Lucian wagers it was a tantrum in response to being told that they couldn't do what they wanted. Feyre decides they should send a message of their own. Chapter 9. Tamlin is pissed at Lucian and Feyre for their retaliation against the twins. We find out that they lured and sent the bug after them. They escaped, but not without a fight, and they're pissed. Tamlin chastises Lucian, saying that he should have known better. Feyre stands up for him, calling the twins monsters and saying Tamlin shouldn't be letting Hybern walk all over him. He dismisses Lucian, who goes to listen in the hallway with the other sentries, and continues arguing with Feyre. She continues to push him, seeing that he is on the edge of one of his tantrums until he full on explodes again. But this time, she does nothing to shield herself from the damage. Lucian immediately barges back in, asking Tamlin, "What have you done?" and helps Feyre up and out of the study. The sentries and Lucian are there to see the results of his anger this time. Feyre looks bad, and she intentionally is keeping her abilities at bay to really drive the scene home. Tamlin seems devastated, calling after her, but she simply replies that she's fine while continuing to walk away. She imagines the painting would be called A Portrait in Snares and Baiting. Back in her room bathing, Rhys reaches out to her, checking on her after the events of the day. He tells her he won't tell her what to do, but he wants her home soon, and he wants to kill Tamlin for hurting her. She teases him, telling him she's okay, sending an image of her sticking her tongue out at him before he replies with the Fae equivalent of a sext down the bond. Things are now tense in the spring court, and Feyre is laying it on thick, bringing attention to her injuries. She forgave Tamlin publicly, but Lucian isn't speaking to him, and his sentries can see that she's still in pain. Shortly after several Naga attack the grounds, Ianthe comes back to the house at Feyre's request. The Naga are dispatched quickly due to a vision Ianthe has, but one was found with the key to the gate that went missing earlier, and Tamlin declares that the sentry who lost them will be punished. The next morning, Tamlin goes to whip him in front of everyone for his negligence. Not willing to look weak in front of Hybern, Feyre uses the opportunity to release the memory she knew he had of Ianthe stealing the keys and framing him. He calls her out in front of everybody. Ianthe continues to play stupid, denying the allegation and calling the sentry a liar. Feyre takes the moment to declare that she will hear the sentry's story, earning favor with the other guards. Ianthe, defending herself, tells Feyre she doesn't have the authority to do that, and the people begin to see the truth of what has occurred. It seems even Tamlin realizes, but after Branna publicly calls him pathetic for his hesitation, and Ianthe again pushes him to enact the punishment, he sides with her and decides to proceed with the whipping at the risk of looking weak otherwise. Even Feyre holds a certain amount of guilt for pushing it to this point, but all is revealed in that moment. The true snake inside Ianthe, and Tamlin putting his reputation and class over his trusted sentries who had sacrificed so much for him. Feyre leans into Lucian for support, and Tamlin watches them as he begins. The crack of the whip seems to shake the foundation of the manor.
Chapter 9. Ianthe continues to try to get close to Tamlin and has convinced him to go with her on the next trip to the wall, which is tomorrow. After Feyre cleans up and spends time with the sentry who was hurt, her two main sentry guards, Bronn and Hart, escort her to her room as she says she was sorry she could not stop the whipping. They apologize for not stopping any of it at all either. Alice is with Feyre and informs her that she will be going back to the summer court tomorrow, and they both tell each other that they will always have at least one friend in their separate courts. The next day, they all set out for another attempt to find the crack in the wall, as Feyre is feeling weaker in her magic. Feyre shares a tent with Ianthe to show she wants nothing to do with Tamlin, but also to spare Lucian from having to be around her. She thinks about killing Ianthe in her sleep, but Ianthe wakes up, and Feyre quickly says it's not a bad idea to have a weapon when camping with their enemies. And Ianthe tells Feyre that Hybern is not their enemy. Feyre and the Damani twins go to see the crack in the wall as they all get into a back and forth. During this argument, Feyre is eating what seems to be a normal apple, and they tell her that the reason these cracks exist is because someone powerful went through them, and that the King of Hybern plans to unleash the cauldron at the cracks because it amplifies the power there, and he has a certain mortal turned fae in mind to do this. Feyre feels the time is right, and her job at breaking the Spring Court and the Hybern Alliance is complete. She plans to run away and plants fake images of the Damani twins hurting her in the sentry's mind. As she begins to walk, she comes across Lucian's voice saying, "Back off," and she hears a low female's laugh. Feyre wants to still leave, but once Lucian says the words, "Do not touch me," she runs into the opening where Lucian and Ianthe are. Lucian's hands are bound behind a tree with Ianthe's stones, which Feyre remembers cuts off someone's magic. Feyre tells her to back off and quickly goes into her hideous mind. She is now in control of Ianthe and tells her to unshackle Lucian, which she does. Feyre then instructs her to take a rock and smash her hand with it until Feyre tells her to stop. Ianthe does this as Feyre tells her she will never lay a hand on someone again against their will, and that she will not remember what happened to her. And every time she looks at her hand, she will remember that touching people without consent has consequences.
Period.
Lastly, she tells her to wait here until someone finds her. Lucian looks shocked, and then Branna and Dagden come into the opening. Chapter 10. Branna and Dagden revealed their plan. This whole time, they have had a scheme. They have been using their Zamani powers to have Ianthe put small amounts of Faebane and Ferris food, but the apple she just ate is finally enough to get her to lose her powers for a few days. They aren't letting Lucian leave here alive either. Feyre has about 10 minutes for the Faebane to kick in, so she decides to fight. She winnows and hits Dagden multiple times and notices that he's a swift fighter as well, so she goes for his weakest spot, his sister. She blasts Branagh with fire, and as Dagdan is distracted, Feyre stabs his abdomen. Branagh is charred but still alive as she tries to stand up on her feet. Lucian winnows and cuts off her head, screams, and goes for Lucian, getting ready to make a final blow as Feyre quickly winnows between them and stabs Dagdan through his eye and skull. The twins' lifeless bodies are on top of each other as Feyre begins to tell Lucian to tell Tamlin that she killed them in self-defense. He realizes she is going back to the Night Court and he is going to go with her to get back his mate. Feyre's magic is gone by this point, and surprisingly, Lucian's is too. They have been poisoning everyone. The two make it to the foothills as they discuss their plans. The Spring Court has made it not possible to access the paths under the mountain, and Feyre cannot go into the Summer Court, so the only way left to go is through the Autumn Court where Lucian's family lives. The Autumn Court's portal is up ahead and oddly enough not guarded. Feyre took into account Cassian's advice as to always have a backup plan, so Feyre went into the guard's mind at the portal before they arrived. Lucian knows of a place they can lie low until they are able to winnow again, and he says that the girl he knew really did die under the mountain. As they enter the portal, Feyre swears she can hear a beast roar coming from the Spring Court.
Let's go ahead and get into some character discussions. The first person that we're going to talk about is probably, I think we were saying this last week, maybe my least favorite person in all of the Sarah J. Maas books. Maybe there's a couple other up here that are on the same level with her, but we fucking hate Ianthe, dude. And this part is not making it any better on her. I cannot wait till she gets what's coming to her later in these fucking books, dude. Yeah, Ianthe, we find out that she's been working with Hybern all along to poison Feyre to help them. We find out that because Feyre has been showing an interest in Lucian, and for no other reason, she's decided to go after him again and try to force him against his will. Feyre describes going into her head as just like this disgusting, nasty place that's covered in a beautiful face. And yeah, even though it's such a hard scene to digest what Feyre really does to her, it's so gory and disgusting. It's kind of like, well, you fucking deserved it. I hate to say
Yeah,
that, but I bet you won't be touching anybody without their consent anymore. That's
period.
like, and the fact that she had him bound with magic so he couldn't use his powers to fight her off, ew, just ew. Ugh.
Oh my god, I fucking hate her so much. Honestly, I think she deserves what she got 100%. Fuck you. You're a trash person. I don't feel bad for her. I'm really glad in this book she's not alive anymore. Oh my god, she's such a bitch. I don't even know. I can't. She's such a fucking bitch. I'm like, you're literally the one who stole the keys. You're trying to frame this fucking century. She gets away with that. Which looking at Tamlin so fucking sideways. I'm just like, I fucking hate her. And then she has to be creepy as shit and literally tie up Lucian. And it's like, oh my god, I can't. The way that she literally is like touching him in front of Feyre just to show her that she can, I literally
Yeah.
hate her.
Yeah, she's terrible, and I really had to give Talon the side eye during that whole part because it's like you admitted that you knew it was like you basically acknowledged that you realized that it was her, and you still fucking chose to whip this man just so people wouldn't think you were weak. It's really just like a reflection on him. But yeah, like I said, like the fact that she already fucked Feyre over by giving her sisters to Hybern. She already did that.
Mhm.
Then these fucking creepy ass twins come to you and basically bid you to put poison in her food, and you're just like, yeah, I'll do that. Sure. I don't
Well, I
know.
think I will say they were like, I don't think she had control over that.
She
I
did.
think they were using
They
really?
no, because they specifically say they were like, we didn't even have to use they were like, we've been Daemati for 1,000 years, but we didn't even have to use our
Right.
power to get her to do that. Like basically saying like she was willing to do it with they didn't even have to use their Daemati powers on her. She just did it willingly.
Damn, really? I remember reading that, but I thought I'd have to look at it. I don't Of course, I don't have my fucking book next to me, but ew. If that's if she just did that for fun, that's really weird and gross, and everything about her, I hate. She doesn't have one redeeming quality about her at all. I'm not
Yeah.
even kidding. She's awful.
Yeah.
God, I fucking hate her.
She's really
Also, like,
something else.
literally the only reason why she even went after Lucian again is because she was getting jealous that he was giving Feyre attention.
Oh, I know. Yeah, literally. It's like
Like, you're such a piece of shit.
all of a sudden you wanted him again after you tossed him to the side, and only because like you felt like Pharaoh wanted him. So it's I don't know, man. She's really gross, but of course it's not pulling up now. I just remember when I was reading it, but yeah, it was like she was literally like, we hadn't been she's or Branagh was like, we've been Daemati for 1,000 years, girl. And we didn't even have to do that. She was more than willing to poison you of her own accord. And I was just like, damn, like this bitch is like really the worst. Like she fucking is disgusting. And I don't know. There's not really much more to say about it for me. She got what she was deserved. She's a real piece of shit. She's not done yet. She's gonna end up coming back. But yeah, the fact that she was just willing to like fuck over Feyre, fuck over Tamlin, she really at the end of the day is just all about Ianthe. I don't know. She's just one of the worst people. And then the fact that she's a fucking predator on top of it just really is like the cherry on top for just disgusting characters. I can't stand her. I can't wait till she dies again. It's one of my favorite parts of the book.
Same.
But yeah.
I hate her with all my being.
Yeah, she definitely she doesn't get any better from here. Again, another person, I guess we already touched on him a little bit, but just like the fact that he was willing to like again, another person who only cares about his own image, what people think of him, what suits him. Like these centuries have literally sacrificed so much for Tamlin, like willingly went over the wall. Some of them didn't come back. One of them got killed and skinned, and like all of this so he could break this curse and all of this to help him. And then in their time of need, when he knows that they didn't do it, like this person didn't do it, he knows that this is Ianthe scheming, and he still chooses to whip this dude in front of everybody, which Vera points out it's not even about the pain of whipping him. It's more about the fact that like he's lost his honor and now he has to bear this mark of shame. Like he lost the key and allowed for the manor to get attacked when that it wasn't his fault. It was all Ianthe and her fucking scheming. Tamlin is terrible too. Like his loyalty, he has none. I have no idea why all these people are so fucking loyal to him when he's loyal to nobody but himself. It really blows my mind. And yeah, he has some of his worst moments here. Again, he fucking explodes. He has like, where have you gone to therapy at all, bro? We told you to get a therapist like the last book. Like, we were trying to 2 books ago. We were like, bro, you need to seek help, seek therapy. Have you talked to anybody? No, because here he is losing control of his anger again and lashing out. And this time, Feyre, even though she's able to protect herself, she doesn't. And she fucking ends up hurt, wounded. And even though it is part of her scheme, at the same time, she shouldn't even be able to push him to that point. That's his fucking problem to have a handle on his own emotions. It's just, I don't know. I can't. And then his stupidity just will never cease to amaze me. He's fucking stupid.
I fucking hate Tamlin. I'm a Tamlin hater for life.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm a Tamlin hater for life. I don't know. But anyway, and also not to mention that he was having a temper tantrum when Feyre was going into the Autumn Court portal and she was like, "Oh, I could hear a roar coming
Yeah.
from the Spring Court." I'm just like, "Oh my god." And then they mentioned like how fucked up all the rooms were when Feyre left for like the first time. And I'm just like, I can't with him. He's shitty.
He
He's dumb. He only cares about himself. I'm sorry. I literally can't get over him. Literally being like, no, you could still like whip this guy. Like, even though like I know he didn't do it. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Just because you don't want to look weak, bro, you already do. Like, you can't control your fucking anger. That's weakness to me, in my
Mhm.
opinion. Like, you don't have the mental capacity to handle your fucking emotions. That makes you weak. Anyway, sorry, I just kind of had to go off for a minute.
No, that's totally fair. That's a bad sign, and it's not even like he let somebody else whip this dude. He whipped him himself. You acknowledged basically that you knew that this guy wasn't at fault, and you whipped him anyways. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I don't know. I literally like I know everybody, like not everybody, but there's a lot of people that want Tamlin to have a redemption arc. I'm not saying I'm against it. I feel like everybody should have the potential and the ability to redeem themselves, but oh my god, is it just I don't care. Like I don't like I if he gets a redemption arc, if it's good enough, I'll be like, okay. But every time I reread like just this series, it's more and more blaringly obvious to me that this dude is a fucking asshole piece of shit. I don't care if he thought he was going to align with Hybern and then betray them later on. You're too stupid to make that happen. You need to recognize your own cap, your own abilities, and not be trying to play a bigger game than you're ready to play. You are not smart enough to be making moves to screw over Hybern. So basically, you just aligned with them and got a bunch of people fucked up, and it's your fault. You should have just stayed your ass in the fucking Spring Court and minded your goddamn business, or you should have aligned with the other courts in your realm of your people and helps them, because I don't really understand what your purpose is here. Like, he has one good moment in this book where he does something really important and saves somebody. And that to me is just not enough. It's just not enough. The fact that his court goes to shambles after all of this because he, again, cannot control his own emotions, can't get his shit together. Like, everything you did is because you have to be a ruler and you have to do what's best for your court. But the second that your toy gets taken away, you just fucking fall to pieces and let your court just fall to the ground and suffer. Everybody turns their back on you because of you. It's not like that just happened for no reason. So I have a really hard time like trying to muster up an ounce of like sympathy for him. Like, you did it to your fucking self, dude. You chose to be friends with the wrong people. You made the wrong decisions. You should have been in therapy. And that's that. I don't really have much more to say about the High Lord of the Spring Court.
I don't either. I hate him. I hate Tamlin. Also with my whole being.
Yeah.
Him and Ianthe can get fucked.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, Ianthe is slightly worse than Tamlin, but
Yeah, no, I would say, yeah,
she's worse. I don't know why, because I feel like she's intentionally doing it. She's a fucking viper.
yeah, no, she's definitely intentionally doing it. I just think that Tamlin's so stupid that like, he almost doesn't even know. But
100%.
that doesn't excuse him because I'm like, how are you the fucking High Lord of the Supreme Court if you're such a dumbass?
Because he was born into it, and that just goes to show you why being born into power isn't necessarily a reason to be in fucking charge of anything. If I've learned anything, it's that just being born to somebody who was fucking a king doesn't mean that you should fucking be a king. Hello, House of the Dragon.
Yeah, you literally
Come on. That's the problem with inherited power. You're not always
Mhm.
worthy of inherited power, even if they do their best to raise you up. Also, let's not act like his dad wasn't a piece of shit, too. So basically, his dad was a piece of shit who raised him to be a piece of shit. And now he's too oblivious to realize, like, I think he realizes that what his dad was doing wasn't cool and that a lot of the stuff that his dad did was wrong, but he doesn't know how to get out of the fucking cycle himself and he doesn't see himself clearly. Also, he's very like selfish and his head's up his own ass, so he can't see shit that's right in front of him. Like, why would you think for even a fucking second that Feyre wants to be here? Anybody who has fucking eyes can see that this girl was doing better not here. And like, you're just so, oh, I got my toy back. Like, you can't even see what's right in front of you, which is Reese is not bad, which you would think he would know. The same way that Jurian's like, you forget that I was friends with him 500 years ago and I know what kind of guy he is. You would think that Tamlin would also know Reese enough to realize that, like, these lies that they tell about the Night Court and about Reese Sand are not true. It's like willful ignorance. You want to believe these things, you want it to be true because you don't want him to be a good guy. So you just believe this, but you were friends with him. You should know that he's not
Literally.
a bad guy. He spared your life, and you can't not focus on the fact that, like, maybe he's not this evil guy that everyone paints him out to be. I don't know. It's Tamlin, ugh, I can't. But yeah, sorry to the Tamlin stands out there. I know that they're out there, and that's okay if your opinions are different than mine. But like I said, I just have a really hard time drumming up any kind of sympathy or understanding for this guy. It's just really beyond my comprehension skills. I don't like, he's not for me, bro. He's, ugh, ugh.
Okay, so to continue our hate train, we're going to talk about the twins.
Weird ass motherfucking twin.
They also got what's coming for them, and I don't feel bad, but
Yeah.
I also highly hate them. The twins suck. I will say they are, like, somewhat clever for at least realizing, "Oh, Feyre has some shit up their sleeve, so I'm gonna do some shit up my sleeve," with the whole poisoning stuff. Okay, that was smart on their part, but it didn't really work out for them because they still died.
Yeah. Let's talk for a minute about like how badass that scene is. It's such a good scene.
Yeah.
I fucking love that scene. The reveal, the drama of it all, and then the subsequent fight scene, Feyre having to like, she's weakened. She has to use her brains and she takes advantage by instead she knows she can't just win against Dagden hand to hand. So she has to distract him by randomly hurting Branna. And I don't know, just that whole scene is so good. It took Lucian way too long to jump in. But when he finally does, he gets in there, cutting off her head. The way that they took them out was just so good. But yeah, they're fucking sadistic. I don't know how else to say it. The whole fucking scene where they're trying to lure the humans into the fucking Fey world so they can, I don't even know what, they don't even want to eat them. I don't know what their end goal is. Like they just want to torture them. For what? I literally don't understand why they were so intent on getting those humans. And then when they bring them back over, the way that they torture them, it's so sadistic. It's so like senseless murder for just, I don't even know why. It makes no sense at all why they would even do that. I don't know, but they fucking deserved what they got. And I just love that Feyre was strong enough to take them out, even though they had did their best to fuck her over and poison her, weaken her. It still wasn't enough. She still won in the end. So yeah, like you said, they were smart, but to be fair, they're fucking 1,000 years old and Feyre's 20. If you
Mhm.
can't outsmart a 20-year-old, like
Why can a 20-year-old outsmart, like, most of these fucking people?
a 20-year-old who couldn't even read 2 books ago, okay?
But now she's the head of a fucking
Now
court. Makes total sense.
she's bad bitch material. She's smarter than all of y'all. But to be fair, I will say that there is a certain element of what makes sense about it. They did show that she trained up. So it makes sense for her to be as a physical fighter, like for her to train with Cassian, one of the greatest fighters in history in this world. Like it does make sense that she would be able to hold her own a little bit. It also makes a lot of sense that because Feyre couldn't read and because she wasn't book smart, she had a lot of what people would refer to as street smarts. She had a lot of like real world abilities, and that's how she was able to win all of Amarantha's trials, except for the reading one, and how she was able to like get around and survive in this world up until now and be around these people who are so much older than her and have experienced so much more than her. Even though she is only 20 years old, she had to fucking grow up really fast and she had to step up and take care of her family and learn how to survive in a really cold, cruel world. So there is a certain amount of it does make sense that she would be like a little bit older and more mature when it comes to certain things. But yeah, the fact that none of these other people can see what's going on is a little bit alarming. Now, I will say the Daymati twins, they were on to her, but
Mhm.
Tamlin, like Lucian was also on to her. He was
Yeah.
willfully ignoring her, but those people like couldn't see what was right in front of their eyes. But to be fair, Jurian saw what was up. Lucian saw what was
Durian's a
up.
human.
Yeah.
Tamlin, what?
Yeah. Well, Jurian's old as fuck too, but yeah, it's just like, come on, dude.
Yeah, that's true.
Come on. I don't know, man. It's very interesting. But yeah, they're fucking evil. I'm happy that they're not in the story anymore. Very interesting. Heads cut off, like we talked about last week. I don't know what that could mean, but yeah, very interesting. But yeah, speaking of Durian, Durian's really interesting in this stretch of chapters because this is the first time that we're starting to get a little inkling of he might not be a bad guy. Like the way that he was really thankful to Feyre that she not only didn't hurt the humans, but that she did her best to actually help them. And he like lets on to her that he knows that she did that. We're starting to see a little bit another side of Jurian where it's maybe he's not as evil as these other people coming out of Hybern. Maybe he actually cares. And he definitely reminds us that he did, even though he's working with Hybern right now, he did fight for the humans in the previous war. He was against Amarantha. He was against what they were trying to do, which was Hybern's side. So it is really interesting that he's been brought over, and we're led to believe that it's just because King of Hybern gave him his life back, basically, and told him he'd help them find Miriam. But this is the first time we're getting to see that maybe there's a little bit more behind his facade and maybe we don't have the full story with him. And the fact that he really delves and gives us a lot of information about what happened and backstory on the fact that him and Reese weren't necessarily friends, but they knew each other and he knows that Reese isn't this monster that everyone paints him to be. It's just really interesting and different side Jurian that we got to see in this stretch of chapters. Interesting going forward as well. We all know what ends up happening, but yeah, this is the first time that we get to see that maybe his are more aligned with Feyre and her side than the King of Hybern's side.
Period. I don't think I caught my first time reading Aqua War, that conversation that he had with Farah in this chapter, alluding to, oh, he might actually be on their side or something. But I also was like a little baby reader. So I was
Yeah.
like, it's fine. It's fine. But I was like, how did I not know that? But I do the reveal later on in the book. I was just like, okay, Jurian, let's go.
Yeah. It makes sense. He's a human. Of course he would be fighting for the
Yeah.
human side. He seduced and got information out of Amarantha's sister just so
Mhm.
he could defeat their side. It is interesting that all of a sudden he's just supposed to be like flipped over to a whole different perspective and we're all just supposed to believe that he would be willing to do that just to get this chick who left him for another dude back. But yeah, it's definitely like that it just didn't end up being that and that there ended up being more to the story when it comes to Jurian. I am interested in seeing what other signs were there as we go throughout it this time as well. But yeah, like you talk about not seeing something or rereading and being like, how did I not see this? I don't know how I didn't see it. This bitch was getting poisoned.
Me too.
It's so obvious, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, no, I don't know. Durian, like we talked about it last week. I know he's not your favorite character. He's definitely not my favorite character or anything like that. But I don't know. I like Durian. He's good. The way he's so somber about the fact that they killed those humans, but he just can't really do anything about it. He can't reveal that he would be not okay with that. He can't really, he's too late to save them. It's just, damn, that's kind of fucked up because I know he really wanted them to get away. So that was like a somber scene. But yeah.
All right, we're going to shift to people we like, which is really only two more people left in this. I will say, I mean, like Durian, I don't dislike him, but I'm not like, I love Durian. I don't know. He's just a character. But anyway, Lucian, he has so many good moments in this span of chapters. Literally, him chopping off one of the twins' head is so iconic. Like, get it. I love you. Thank you so much. I love him. And he really is just like, nah, fuck this. I'm out. Let's go, Feyre. I gotta go find my boo.
Yeah.
And him, I can go suck it. Oh my gosh.
To be fair, he does still have a little bit of growing to do. He's got to come to terms with some things, I think, and take accountability for some things. But I love Lucian. I'm not going to ever hate on him. He needs to admit to himself that Tamlin is not the team he should have been fighting for, and that he definitely allowed some shit to go down that he shouldn't have just sat by and watched. But it's coming. I know it's coming in the next part. And I do question again where it's like, if Elaine wasn't there, would he have still made the same decisions? If he wasn't so focused on getting to Elaine, would you have still done the right thing? We'll never know. Even Feyre questions him a little bit about it in the next part. Don't flatter yourself too much, because the only reason you're here is because you're trying to get to my sister. If my sister wasn't a factor, would you have gone back to Tamlin and told him what really happened or anything like that? So I do love Lucian. I think that he's definitely, like, at this point on his path to 100% being on the right side, but he's got a little bit of accountability to take. And next week we're going to get into it and talk, like, really more about his past and stuff, and that's a part that I love reading about and getting to know more about him. So yeah, sweet baby Lucian, we do love him. And I do think that this is like the beginning of the strong friendship between Feyre and Lucian, even though a lot of it is scheming on her part. Like, they're definitely getting closer. The way she leans into him when Camlin is whipping that sentry dude and he's there to console her, and the way that when Tamlin attacks her again, Lucian's the one who goes in there and tells him to fuck off and helps pick her up and clean her up. And he doesn't talk to Tamlin again until days later because he's so pissed about it. It's definitely the beginning of their friendship. And I do love the friendship between Lucian and Ferris.
Me too. I would totally read a novella about Lucian.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
But it's sad, like, when you think about it, 'cause I'm like, wow, I'm like, she just always has to be tied to one person. And I'm just like, damn, I want him to have his, like, moment where he doesn't have to be tied to someone and he's okay with it.
Well, he might. We know that he's the heir of a high lord.
Yeah.
Like, he's made for more than just what his life has been. And, like, we'll definitely talk about it next week because I know what's
Mhm.
coming up in the next chapters or whatever. But the seventh son and people feeling like he was a threat because he was probably the most suited to be high lord. And just, yeah, I don't know, I think Lucian's got a great story, and I actually would not be surprised if we end up getting a singular story about him, depending on who he ends up with and who ends up with him. There's so many questions. He's one of the biggest open-ended questions in this series right now.
Mhm.
Like, obviously, him and Asriel and Elaine, like, everybody is wanting to know what the hell is going to happen with those three. Definitely really interesting, but I'm always geared up to find out more about him. And I will say, it's always so funny to remember just how beautiful Lucian is supposed to be, because even Feyre, when she's talking about how when they all walk up to the wall and the children of the blessed are on the other side, and they're looking through, and she's like, they had seen everybody, but their breath hitched when they saw Lucian's ethereal beauty. Because even Feyre's, yeah, Lucian's a little bit
Same.
prettier than the rest of us. I was like, yeah, he's pretty good looking. Yeah, we love Lucian. We love Lucian. He's got a little bit more groveling to do, but he's gonna get there. And I do love him. He will always be the flawed character that I'm like, it's okay. I feel like we're gonna get you there. You're not so flawed that we can't, like, redeem you in a quick
Mhm.
fashion. I just need you to let go of fucking deadweight Tamlin. So
Yes. Lucian is one of my favorite characters.
yeah, he's up there. Yeah. And then finally, I guess we just gotta talk about Feyre. Feyre is really, like, her all of her plans have come to a head in this point. She's turned Tamlin's sentries against him. She basically turned Lucian against him. She's got Hybern questioning his alliance. Everything that she's been set into motion is happened at this point. She sent Alice on her way. Alice has gone back to the summer court. Alice is like, I see where this shit is going. Like, I'm getting out of here while the stuff is still okay. The only person that Tamlin has right now basically is Ianthe, and God, I'd rather have fucking literally anything and anybody else. So Feyre's cunning and her plan has come to an end here. But we also get to see some of her, like, naivety a little bit, with her really not realizing what was going on with her powers. Like, girl, you didn't question at all. You're getting headaches. the bond, like, I feel weak, it's hurting to use my magic. Like, you didn't question that at all. What did you think was happening? When she's like, "Oh, I'm so close to the wall. That's why I'm so weak." I'm like, "Then why isn't anybody else having any issues?" These are things that I would have had to be like, "Okay, something's not right here." I don't know if I would have guessed that they were poisoning me, but I would have definitely been like,
Yeah.
"Hey, Reese, is it supposed to be this hard to hear you down the bond?" I don't know. But yeah, I still like Feyre. And this is some of my favorite parts for her in this series is this first part of Aquar.
Yeah, her making Ianthe smash her hand is gonna forever live rent free in my mind.
Yeah. Feyre don't play games, bro. Feyre's like, mm-mm.
Period.
I think she has an extra hatred to Ianthe too because she feels like she did that to her mate and she obviously wasn't there to save Reese. Luckily, Reese was strong enough
Mhm.
to save himself. But I feel like that just really adds to why she has such a disgust and vehemence for what Ianthe did. And like I said, fair play. It's gruesome and gross, but like, get what you fucking deserve, bitch. Shouldn't be out here trying to prey on people that clearly don't want you. Lucian is saying, hands down, do not touch me. And she's got him shackled, unable to use his magic or protect himself, and she's touching him against his will. Gross. Ew. There's no other word for that.
Yeah, no, I anyway, Ianthe sucks again.
Yeah, it all leads back to Ianthe's
But
terrible.
I'm so glad Farrah decided to help Lucia because she was just like, "I'm just gonna go. I know it's terrible," but then she heard him say, "Don't touch me." She's like, "Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I gotta go back." I'm like, "Okay, Jesus."
Well, yeah. Like I said, I think she does love Lucian, and I think that they actually have a really cute, nice friendship. I just think that she had a tough decision to make because she
Mhm.
almost fucked everything up by going back for him, and everything ended up working out the way it was supposed to. But yeah, I do love their friendship. She couldn't leave her guy there just being tortured by fucking Ianthe, no help. Yeah. But yeah, Feyre deep down has got good intentions, even if she doesn't always go about them in the right way. Because morally gray is the
Yeah.
word when she basically let
Mhm.
that guy get fucking whipped just to prove a point. It wasn't her fault. It was Ianthe's fault. But at the same time, she could have interfered a lot earlier and maybe prevented it from getting to the point that it did. And she didn't just to accomplish a goal. So I think even she has guilt and has to take accountability for that when it comes to it because you could have said something earlier and stopped that from happening.
Yeah. Yeah, she could've. But anyway, Rhysand isn't really in this much, y'all. He'll be back next week, though.
Yeah. He'll be back soon.
Yeah, no, he'll be back soon, y'all, okay? This has been, like, the Pharaoh show the last 2 episodes, but
I'm okay with
we're
that.
getting back to the Night Court, which is gonna be, good. The rest of the book is so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
This is just a little build up, but even, like, the build up is really intense, and you're just like, "Wait, what?" Like, we just met 2 characters that seemed like they probably were gonna be big, and then they just fucking died, as they should, but yeah.
That is true though. She did introduce them as almost big
Mhm.
bads and then they were gone within 10 chapters. That is pretty crazy. People are going to start showing up and getting killed the fuck off.
Alright.
But yeah, getting into some foreshadowing and world building, like there really wasn't too much. I will say majority of like the foreshadowing that I have is something that I talked about a little bit earlier, but just like of how many signs there were that Pharaoh was like that something was going wrong with her. She's getting headaches and she's like, "Oh, it's because I'm not getting enough sleep and I'm using my powers too much." And she's struggling to winnow and she's like, "Oh, it's because I'm carrying the centuries and all these supplies." And it's like, have you ever had an issue with this before? Why would this all of a sudden be a problem for you? And then the twins, oh, that was one thing was like when they were at camp and they had brought all that food and the twins were not
Mhm.
really eating it. And everybody
Right.
else was just going into town. And she was like, they picked at the sandwiches like they had maggots in them or something. And I was like, and you didn't think that was weird that they were not eating? There was no sign that you were like, why aren't these people eating? You were just like, oh, I guess they were just fucking weird, which they are. But it's like she didn't really read into that too much. And then just the same, like she continues to struggle using her powers, but she's like, it's because I'm too close to the wall and the bond seems to be getting weaker, but it must be because I'm so worn out. And it's just like, okay, the signs were there that shit was going wrong, but whatever, it all worked out in the end, like we said. But definitely a ton of foreshadowing there that I'm not even sure I caught all of that the first time that I was reading through it. Just like all the signs that there was that something was wrong with her that was beyond just I'm tired. And then there is a little earlier on, Lucian is talking to Feyre and he is talking about what happened when Feyre left and how they ended up aligning with Hybern. And Lucian basically lets it slip that they had two options, which was either declare war against the Night Court and go to war on their own and still have to fight Hybern because Hybern was coming one way or the other. Or he said that they could have aligned with Hybern and tried to use it to their advantage until they basically turned on them later. So we're led to believe at this point that's kind of what their intentions are. That Tamlin is aligning himself with Hybern, but he has bigger plans at the end of the day to go against them and use that alliance to his advantage in the end. Like I've said several times, I really don't think he's smart enough to succeed with that. So I don't know why he's getting too big for his britches and trying to do something that he's not capable of doing. But I will admit that it's better than if he just aligned with Hybern because he agreed with what they were doing or whatever. As far as foreshadowing, there is a little bit of world building that happens in this part. Basically, just when Jurian's talking to Feyre and he shares with her that Rhysand risked his legion to protect Miriam and that the whole reason that he got caught by Amarantha in the first part, like when Rhys is going through telling his story to her in chapter 54, and he's telling her how Amarantha captured him and tied him to the post and kept him out there for days until his dad had to come save him. The whole reason he got caught by Amarantha in the first place was because he sent his troops in to get Miriam against orders to get her out because he knew that if Draken went there, it was going to be a trap and Amarantha was going to kill him basically. So he went instead, and that's how he got caught.
I'm so sorry, Reese. It sucks.
He
Okay.
made it. He made it.
Yeah, he made it. Everything will end up being handy dandies. The only other world building I'm going to add quickly is that we learn that Hybern has armies, not just in the Spring Court or in Hybern. He also has armies in Valen, Rask, and Montersays. I probably pronounced most of those wrong. But we finally get a little bit more of the map and Wings and Ruin, and those places are like on the right-hand side of the fucking map
Mhm.
and fucking labeled. Would like to know more about them. Hopefully one day we do.
Yeah.
But he has a lot of other allies apparently, which is not great for them. But I'm also looking at these people like, the fuck? What are y'all up to over there?
Yeah. It's really interesting because isn't Valahan where Moore is in most of Silver Flames and in
I think
Frost and
so.
Starlight? It is interesting what they have going on over there. I'm not 100%
Mhm.
sure. I wanted to say it was a human territory, but it wouldn't really make sense for the humans to be aligning with Hybern when Hybern wants to enslave humans. So I don't really, yeah, I don't know. But that's always been kind of
Anyway,
weird to me.
it's always been weird. I'm just like, why don't we know about these places? Maybe one day we will learn. Hopefully. So I'm like, I'm over here trying to keep so many names in my head of, okay, we've been taught about this place at this place. Is this going to matter at some point?
Yeah, that's a really good question. All right, guys. Like I said, this is a little bit of a shorter episode. Definitely a lot less to talk about. It's definitely a conclusion to a big part of this story. A lot of things got resolved. So there's not really a lot to talk about as far as like building the story forward when it comes to a lot of these characters and situations. Next week will be the start of part 2. So that will definitely change a little bit. The setup for what's to come will definitely begin to happen. Hopefully, we'll have some fun theories and stuff from next week's stretch of chapters, even though I'm not 100% sure because I haven't read them all yet. So, that being said, thank you guys for being here today. We hope that you enjoyed our discussion. In our next episode, we will be continuing our coverage of Akawar, starting part 2. Email or DM us anything that you'd like to talk about in any of our upcoming episodes. Finally, again, if you have made it this far, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Or if you're listening on a podcast platform, please take some time to rate and review us. It helps us a lot. And either way, give us a follow over on our social medias. We do have TikTok and Instagram, and we do a lot of fun content about things going on in the romantasy world, as well as like bookish memes, different romantasy stuff, and tons of Sarah J. Maas memes and content. So check us out over there. And thank you guys so much. We love y'all. Thanks for being here listening to us, even though this was a little bit of a different episode. Next week, we'll be back on track. That being said, we want to go ahead and end with a quote as always. And our quote today is perhaps that's because Rhysand has not lost you at all, but rather unleashed you upon us. All right. Bye, guys.
Period. Bye.